What is up, guys? My name is Pocketcraft and welcome to the Cobblemon Survival Guide. So today we're going to be going over some basic tips and tricks for how to catch Pokemon easier and catch Pokemon that can be a little bit more difficult to catch. Because as we're going around and catching low-level Pokemon like Wooloo, there's really not much to it. But as we start to try and catch some rarer and more difficult Pokemon, and in the future as we get to legendary Pokemon, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So we're going to go over some tips for that today. Now, my first tip is you want to find a Pokemon that has the move False Swipe. The move False Swipe allows you to get a Pokemon down to 1 HP, but it won't knock it out. My favorite Pokemon that has this move is Scyther, but Scyther is a little bit more rare and mainly spawns in the jungle biome. So we're going to try and get a Scyther before too long, but for today, there's another Pokemon that is far more common and easier to find than Scyther that can do the same thing early on. And so we're going to see if we can find that Pokemon as well. So the Pokemon we're looking for is Ninjask. He spawns very commonly in most foresty biomes, so you go somewhere with trees and you can probably find one pretty fast. I haven't stumbled upon one yet, but I did actually just stumble across, and if I can find him again, he just went behind a tree somewhere, a Nincada. Nincada evolves into Ninjask at level 20, and so we should be able to catch this guy and just level him up. There he is. So we're going to try and catch him and level him up as he's trying to be caught. I just wanted to let you guys know I was playing a little bit off camera because it's too loud at my house to record. So I caught a Boldore while I was mining, and I leveled up my Pokemon a little bit. So my Pokemon are a little bit higher level now, which is awesome, but we caught Nincada. And the nice thing about Nincada is he does actually evolve at level 20, and we caught him at level 21. So we're going to evolve him really quickly so we can have a Ninjask. And there's an interesting fact about Nincada, which I'll show you guys in just a second, but to demonstrate it, we want to make sure we have at least one open slot in our party, because Nincada, when it evolves, actually evolves into two separate Pokemon. And so as you'll see, as long as you have an area in your party, you'll get a you'll get a Ninjask, excuse me, and you'll also get a Shedinja, which is awesome. So we have both of those, but Ninjask is the one we want, and the reason being, Ninjask can learn the move False Swipe. And this is the move I was talking about that leaves a Pokemon with 1 HP. Now, if you're near a Scyther, I would recommend Scyther. I think he's better. And eventually we'll try and get a Scyther. But for now, since he's so common, we're going to use Ninjask. Now, I'm going to demonstrate to you guys why False Swipe is so helpful. But before we do that, our Bidoof is actually ready to evolve. So I want to evolve our Bidoof here together. Now we have ourselves a B-Barrel. We'll look at him. He looks pretty sweet. I think they did a pretty good job with B-Barrel's animation. Don't know how long we'll keep him on our team, but we got him for now. Oh, and we just saw an Eevee spawn, which is perfect because that's a Pokemon that I do want to catch. And they're pretty rare, so that'll be awesome. Now, this Eevee is a little bit higher level than Ninjask, so just kind of a guide. If I were you, once you get a Pokemon with False Swipe, I would try and level it up as high as possible. I would have normally waited to use it, but this Eevee is something that I want immediately. And so we'll have to demonstrate with Ninjask in a second because he just got knocked out. But I want to catch this Eevee first. So I have some bad news. I accidentally knocked out the Eevee. But that does actually show the point of why Ninjask is so important. We're going to train up Ninjask to show you how it can be more effective when they're a higher level. But there's a Surfetch'd right there that I really do want to catch because I think that's a rarer Pokemon. So I'm going to show you the next tip right here to help catch Pokemon. So the next tip is to have good Pokeballs. Some of the best ones is we're definitely going to want some quick balls. These are balls that give a 5 times catch rate if you throw them on the first turn of battle. So it's really useful to catch Pokemon pretty quickly. Ultra balls as well have a 2 times catch rate, so they're some of the best Pokeballs. And we're going to get some more quick balls here really quick. And then great balls as well are a useful one. That gives 1.5 times catch rate. So there's other Pokeballs that are really useful that we're going to go into later. But my next tip here is you just want to make sure you're using the best Pokeballs you can. And that'll help you catch Pokemon much more quickly. So let's see, he hasn't despawned, which is awesome. So we're going to try and catch this guy. And this actually does go into one of the other tips I have for Cobblemon. If you can catch a Pokemon that's a little bit higher level early on, it is incredibly helpful. So for example, I caught this Boldore. It was like level 25 or something, which isn't even that high, in a cave. But that has allowed me to train up my other Pokemon much more easily. And so the idea is, if you can catch a Pokemon that's a higher level, you can switch train, and you can fight higher level Pokemon. So he's level 36, so we can take out most Pokemon in their 30s if we catch him, and that'll allow us to train up our lower level Pokemon much faster. There we go, we caught Surfetch'd. As you can see with a quick ball, we're able to catch Pokemon almost instantly. Now, Surfetch'd is a really cool Pokemon, and as much as I love B-Barrel, and the memes. I might switch B-Barrel out for Surfetched. And I'm going to show you here. It looks like this is a Boufflant, which is level 31. So normally my Ninjask would not be able to beat that. But we're going to use Surfetched to train him more quickly so I can show you guys how this works. First, I want to make sure he has the right moves. There we go. We want to make sure he has a good fighting move. We'll have to level him up more to get better fighting moves. But that right there seems like a very good move, first impression. Okay, but let's fight him now so I can show you guys how this works. So we'll go out with Ninjask, and then we'll switch train, and we'll go into Surfetch. And Surfetch was able to take out Boufflant very easily, and that gave 2 levels to Ninjask. All right, so I'm going to go and train up Ninjask to a little bit higher level. And once he's a more appropriate level, I can show you guys why False Swipe is so helpful. You guys are not going to believe this, but I was wandering around training up Ninjask, and I stumbled across a freaking Charmander. I am pumped out of my mind. And so we're going to try and catch this guy. We're using Ninjask here, and you'll see this is a great example of how False Swipe can get a Pokemon down to very low HP. He did knock out my Ninjask, but we got him low enough that here with Boldore, I was able to start throwing some Ultra Balls at Charmander, and we did end up catching him, which I'm so pumped about. Unfortunately, the audio for these clips did get a little bit messed up, so I'm recording it after. But the Charmander we did add to our team, and he was immediately ready to evolve, so we sent him out there, and we evolved him into Charmeleon, which I'm super excited about. I know it's 2 fire types, but I think it would be so cool to have a Charizard and a Blaziken on my team. Let's just take a moment to bask in the glory of this guy. Look how awesome he looks. And honestly, one of the reasons I picked Torchic was because I think I didn't want to be too basic and pick Charmander like just about every 100-day challenge does. But you know what? I'm glad we have him. He's an awesome Pokemon. His moves are great, so we didn't have to change him. And he's going to be a very welcome addition to the team. And so Ninjask is now level 45, which is pretty high. And so that'll be useful for catching most Pokemon. To catch some of the higher level Pokemon, we'll want him to be a little bit higher. But for now, he should be good. And at the end of the day, we're going to want to get a Scyther before too long anyways. But Elekid also has gotten to level 30, which is where he evolves. So we're now going to evolve Elekid into an Electabuzz. And there we go. Now we have ourselves an Electabuzz who's looking pretty sweet. And I'm excited to work to getting an Electivire pretty soon. But now that we have our method ready for catching Pokemon, we're going to go on a little bit of a catching spree and see what kind of Pokemon we can get. Before I get into the catching spree, I forgot to mention one super important tip. And that is to use moves that inflict status conditions. So Sleep Powder is one of the best ones when it puts Pokemon to sleep. But Stun Spore, anything that paralyzes a Pokemon, burns it, Poison. Poison and Burn is a little bit more dangerous because it can knock them out. But especially any move that paralyzes a Pokemon, puts them to sleep, or freezes them will make it easier for you to catch that Pokemon. So if you're fighting a really difficult Pokemon to catch with a really low catch rate, I would recommend getting them down to 1 HP with False Swipe, and then giving them a status condition, and then try and catch them, and it'll go much smoother. By the way, if you're pumped out of your mind as well that we got a Charmeleon, and if you want one as well, give this video a like for some Charmeleon luck. And subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the episode when he becomes a Charizard. First things first, this is a bit of an easy Pokemon, but I see a Magikarp on the map, and Gyarados is one of my favorite Pokemon, so I do want to catch at least one of these guys so we can get a Gyarados on our team, which will actually be really useful for another method we're going to be using later to get level up Pokemon even faster. This guy's a higher level, so we'll go for him. And now if you're catching a water Pokemon, what I would recommend is after you start the battle, use R and get out of the water so you don't drown. But as you can see the method here, we'll go with False Swipe, which will get the Pokemon down to 1 HP. Then we'll catch him, and since it's a Magikarp, I actually won't use some of the better Pokeballs. They're more expensive, so I want to save them for Pokemon with lower catch rates. But Magikarp is fairly easy to catch, so we should hopefully be able to get it just with this ball right here. And there we go. We have ourselves a Magikarp. So maybe during next episode, we can get ourselves a Gyarados. Here we have a Lickitung, which I think is just kind of a funny-looking Pokemon. So I definitely want one of these. Maybe even we'll get a couple of them at some point, and you can use a pasture block to get them out walking around because I think they look funny. And now as you can see, the reason I'm going to try and get a Scyther at some point is Ninjask doesn't have a super high physical attack stat, and False Swipe is not a super powerful move. So it can take a little while to whittle people down, but Ninjask is a great starter Pokemon because you can find him pretty easily in most biomes or in very common biomes. But we will be getting a Scyther later on. If you find a Scyther already, or a stronger Pokemon, maybe like Golisopod, that also has False Swipe, I would recommend using them instead. And we just stumbled across another Eevee, so we're going to try and get some redemption from earlier, because we were not able to catch it earlier, but now that Ninjask is a higher level, I think we should be able to do this. Last time I definitely knocked it out on accident using a different Pokemon. There we go. Looks like False Swipe is going to work pretty well to get him down low. And I guess I could have used a Quick Ball on Eevee and probably would have caught it, but that's okay. We have Ultra Balls here, and he's down in the red, so we should be able to catch him fairly easily. Awesome. There we go. We got ourselves an Eevee. We want to get at least 8 of those so we can get each of the evolutions. Now here we have a Mudsdale, which is actually a little bit stronger of a Pokemon. So we're going to go with a bit of a different strategy for him. We're going to start the battle, and we're going to try and go with a Quick Ball first, because Mudsdale is a very defensive Pokemon if you don't know much about him. And so lowering him just with False Swipe would be very difficult. Oh, there we go. We caught him with a Quick Ball. Oddish is one of my favorite grass type Pokemon, so we'll try and pick him up as well. And there we go. We got ourselves an Oddish. I was exploring a little bit and I came across a village, which is awesome because if any of you have watched my Minecraft survival guide for Pocket Edition, you'll know that villages are just about one of my favorite features in Minecraft, and I love trading with them to get resources. And so we're actually going to be using these a little bit later on in the series to get some pretty awesome Cobblemon specific resources that are hard to come by in other ways. But another great thing about villages in Cobblemon is a lot of rare Pokemon spawn here that don't spawn in other places. So here's a good opportunity for us to catch some interesting Pokemon. Like over here, there's a Coughing and a Voltorb. There we go, Coughing is ours. And there's Voltorb here, but I did just see on the map that there is a Growlithe over here. Which, no offense to Voltorb, but in my opinion, Growlithe is a much cooler Pokemon. Growlithe is probably one of my favorite all-time fire types. I don't know how much we would use him, because we do have such an extensive group of fire types already with Blaziken and, well, not Blaziken yet, but with Combusken and our newly found Charmeleon. I'm not sure how many other fire type Pokemon we're going to want. And there we go, Growlithe is ours. Alright, we're back here at home base. I just want to give a quick check-in. There are some Pokemon I've caught off camera in between episodes. So I want you guys to see everybody I've got so far. We've got quite a few in here, a couple cool ones. I did pick up a Golisopod. We have our 2 EVs, a Boltund, and there's a couple interesting Pokemon in here. But we are going to be trying to catch a lot more now as we go throughout the series. We're also going to start focusing more on trying to get to the Nether and to the end, so we can start catching some of the legendary Pokemon and accomplishing more of our goals now that we've got some of the basic things out of the way. I do still need to build a house, and I started building, I haven't finished, but I started building a little bit of a storage silo over here. I was running out of room and everything in the double chest there, so I figured I might as well make a permanent location to store it yet. Not done with the design here, so I do need to finish building it. But this is here, and we'll have to start building a base at some point as well. As far as food goes, we have our wheat farm over here. I'm looking to start potatoes and carrots pretty soon because I do want to start trading with the villagers more, because that will help us to advance farther in the game here. I have a pretty extensive sugarcane farm going right here, just a pretty simple one. We might automate this here in the future as we get more materials. And then we also have a pretty simple chicken and cow farm here, just to allow us to have more access to food. But we'll get away from there because it is pretty noisy. Pro tip also, if you are playing without natural mobs on, something that you can do that is really helpful is just battle Bouffalant. For one, it's a great Pokemon to give experience. You can get a ton of experience battling them. That's how I leveled up most of my Pokemon. But also, when you beat them, they drop beef and leather, and so you can get everything that you could get from a cow just from fighting Bouffalant as well as Tauros. Alright, that's going to be it for this episode. I'd say it was pretty productive. We got a lot of new Pokemon and leveled up some of our guys here, as well as we got a freaking Charmeleon, which is awesome. But thank you guys so much for watching, and please watch out for the next video.